So today we talk about the term that is not unusual to business owners, but it appeals to marketing and sales, and we're going to talk about it from a different perspective, because for the longest time we've always used sales and marketing interchangeably. We've always used the same strategy, even though it might have been a B2B business or a B2C business. And today we're going to look at why those strategies need to be differentiated, why they need to be mixed up, and why they need to be focused. Now, the first thing we need to understand is when your business is a B2B styled business, that means you're selling to other businesses, you're not selling to the end user. So if you are an engineering company and you're selling your products, let's say it's specialized steel, products to the construction industry, that would be an example of a B2B business. A B2C business would be a retail style business where you're selling consumer goods and you're selling directly to the end user. So if you are a coffee shop and you're selling cappuccino and some customer comes into the door and they buy it from you, that would be a B2C business model. Now, how do you go about sales and how do you go about marketing when it comes to these two distinct business models? And when you're dealing with a B2C style business, you need to lead with marketing and sales follow. And when it's a B2B business, you lead with sales and marketing follows. Now, let's give us an example of that. What does that mean? Let's take a B2B business, right? If you are an engineering company and you are selling to construction industries, and let's say there are only 15 construction companies that are big enough to buy the specialized equipment or the specialized steel that you might be selling. And I'm just using this as a radical example. For those that are in the engineering industry and for those that are in the construction industry, you might say, listen, there's no such product. There probably isn't. But this is for the purpose of hypothesis, and this is an example. So if you know that there are only 15 potential people that would buy from you or 15 potential companies that would buy from you, it wouldn't make sense for you to run an advertising campaign on a popular radio station. Firstly, it's going to be extremely expensive, right? And secondly, your audience might not be there. It would be much easier for you to actually phone up that client or phone up that company, set up an appointment with them. And I know I'm oversimplifying it because in most cases, it's not as easy as just picking up the phone anymore, asking for an appointment and going there and pitching. A lot of them, they have gatekeepers, they stop you, they have existing service providers, they have all of these other obstacles, and that is all part of the sales process, and that we unpacked in a different podcast. But let's say you get it right, and they're prepared to meet with you because it doesn't cost them anything. There might be an opportunity for you to sell to them, and they might say, okay, cool, if you can come in at this price over here, we would trial it and we'd give it a shot and see where it goes. So let's say that is what happens. You phone them up, you present your product to them, you present your offering to them. And in doing that, that would be sales proactive and market reactive. So what that means is you starting with the sales process, not with marketing to them first. You're starting with selling to them. Then what happens? They will want to do some research on you, some due diligence. They want to make sure that you are a company that can meet their quality criteria. So they then go through all of your testimonials. They will look at your website. They might even look at your social media content. They might even look at your social media. They will look at your testimonials, other work that you've done. And that then forms part of your reactive marketing platforms. Now, the website, your company profile, those are what is called reactive marketing platforms, right? So those things need to be in place. They need to tell a story of reputability, of competence, of expertise, so that the potential client that you're meeting with has peace of mind knowing that you can deliver on the promises that you've made in that presentation. That is an example of a strategic B2B plan where sales is proactive and marketing is reactive. Now let's flip the coin. Let's look at a B2C model. Let's look at a coffee shop, right? And let's say you've set up a coffee shop in the CBD, and your immediate audience are the people that are walking past. But let's say you want to grow your audience and you want to bring in even more because you have the specialized muffin that you've made from scratch and nobody else is selling that. So that is your USP, your unique selling proposition. What you then do in an attempt to increase your market share, your customer base, to get more customers through the door, you would then lead with marketing. Whether that be on social media, whether that would be on a radio campaign, whether that be in printed media, which probably doesn't make financial sense in today's times because everything is dominated in the digital space, that would be an example of proactive marketing. And when the customer sees that advert and they say, okay, listen, I need to try this, I'm going to come in, and they come through the doors of your cafe, only then does the sales process start. So here you have an example of market proactive, sales reactive. Sales is reactive because the sales process only starts once the customer comes through the door. You don't exactly go 5 kilometers down the road and say, listen, I have a coffee shop, you should come in and try our muffin. That would be a proactive sales approach, and you could probably do that, but I don't think you'll yield good results. you'd come across as being a little bit desperate and a bit needy and a little too pitchy. So when you position your brand, and positioning versus innovation is a different podcast that we've done. If you haven't listened to that, I highly suggest and recommend that you do, because that will also teach you how to not position yourself as a new company that is desperate to get new customers in. But coming back to the point, now you are a business. You need to increase your sales. The first thing you need to understand is, what is your business model? And the best way to describe a business model is to determine who your customers are, who your clients are. Okay? So if you know that your customers or your clients are other businesses, then you are a B2B business. If you understand that your customers are end users that consume your product, then you are a B2C business, which is business to consumer. There are other business models as well, like B2G, which is business to government. If you only supply government, that is a different strategy that you'd have to implement altogether, because that goes through a tendering process. And even with that, there's lots of gray area, because, they would look at your experience, they would look at what the pricing is, they would look at all the other things that they as a government would need to comply with. So they would look at the triple BEE status, the disability status, are you male, are you female, are you black, are you white, are you colored? All of those things they would take into account. And that can get very complex. And there are organizations out there that can help you position yourself and help you position your company to increase your chances of securing those government contracts. I've never dealt with government, though. I've been a service provider for other organizations that has dealt with government, but I've never wanted to go through the process of having to jump through all of those loops. And it looks very lucrative, but I'd rather stick to what I know best, and that would be B2B and B2C. If you got value from this podcast, give us a like, give us a share, and we'd be back next week, same time, same place, to share a lot more value and a lot more content with you. So until then, goodbye and God bless.